In this presentation, we will take a look at the company preferences related to the checking account within QuickBooks Pro 2019. For more accounting information and accounting courses, visit our website at accountinginstruction.info. Here we are in the company file, Home tab. We're going to go up top to the Edit once again and go to the Preferences if this is not already open for you. So Edit and then Preferences. We had done the Accounting tab last time. We're going to move through some of these. We're going to keep the default settings. So we'll go to the next one, which will be Bills. As you go to the next item, it might ask you, do you want to save the changes to the Accounting tab? And of course, the answer would be yes, we want to save the changes. Within the bills, we have the My Preferences, and we have the Company Preferences. Nothing in the My Preferences tab. We're going to go to the Company Preferences. And we have bills are due 10 days after receipt. Now, this is going to be a preference that you may adjust depending on when the due date will be after you record a bill. This means we're going to enter the bills within the system, and the system is just going to then put it into accounts payable and then notify us when the bills are due. So it's a way to help us track when the bills are going to be due. This will be a default. It's pretty good default settings to have, so I'll keep this there. Warn about duplicate bill numbers from the same vendor. Again, good check to have typically, so we will keep that item as well to give us a kind of a warning sign. And then paying bills automatically use credit cards. If we wanted to set that up, we're going to keep the default as no. Automatically use discounts. If we had some kind of setup where we always had the discount, then we can put up the automatic discounts here, set them automatically. Then we have the calendar tab. I'm going to go to the calendar tab. Two items once again. We have the company preferences and the My Preferences. Nothing's in the company preferences, so we'll go to the My Preferences here. So calendar view, we're going to keep the default. Remember the last view. Weekly view, we're going to keep the default. Show all transactions, we're going to keep the default here. Upcoming and past due settings, we're going to have to display. I'm going to keep all of the default settings within the calendar tabs. Then we're going to go to the checking. So we're going to go to the checking items here. And once again, two tabs, My Preferences and Company Preferences. We're going to keep the default settings here in the checking account. Now note we haven't set up the checking account yet, so we don't have a checking account because it didn't set up by default. And it used to do that. QuickBooks used to set up a default checking account. But nowadays, of course, we have the items where we may want to customize more of the checking account and later directly attach it to the bank. So we haven't set up the checking account and therefore aren't going to be adjusting these yet. Once we have the checking account set up, however, we're going to want to set up the defaults. So whenever, for example, we open the write checks, whenever we write a check and we open up the form to write a check, we're going to want to choose which account to go to. Now, if we only have one account, if we have one checking account, then of course that will be the account we will assign. If we had two checking accounts, we would want to assign what is the default. So if we went to a thing that if we went to the transaction, to the form of writing a check, we want it to default to the proper account and not have to basically change the checking account most of the time. So it'll most of the time go to the default. So open pay bills, it's going to be the same type of system. It's going to default to the checking account, so the proper checking account, so that we don't make a mistake and accidentally post the transaction to the incorrect checking account. Sales tax is the same item, make deposits. So typically, if we only have one checking account, these will all be the same. We'll check all these off and we'll choose the same account, that being the one checking account that we will be using. In the Company Preferences tab, we've got the Print Account Names on the voucher. We're going to keep the Company Preferences here at No, and we have Not checked. We got Change Check Date when non-cleared check is printed. We're going to keep the default setting as Not checked. Start with Payee field on the check. We're going to keep that as Not checked. And these are going to make things a little bit faster in terms of our data entry process. We're going to keep the default settings for now within the data input process. Warn about duplicate check numbers is going to be, the default is to have that checked. We're going to keep that default. That's going to be useful because whether we write the checks by hand or we write the checks through QuickBooks, we're going to have pre-printed checks from the bank, even if we write them through QuickBooks. And the point is that we want to make sure that we don't have duplicate check numbers, because if we do, that's an indication that something went wrong. So the pre-numbered checks is going to be one of our basic kind of audit things or internal control procedures that we have even for a small company. So if we have a duplicate check, something seems funny, we'll keep that on. We'll get a warning sign then if that happens. Autofill payee account number in check memo. This is going to be really useful if we go to the checking account, because it's going to tell us what the next check is each time. And of course, the checks should be in order. So if we start with check 1001, the next one should be 1002. It should be in order in that way. If we start writing checks and they're all in order, and then we find that we have a duplicate somewhere, something funny happened, that's when we can go back and start to check and say, okay, what's going on here? The auto number should be the next number in line. If it's not, then we want to go back and check them off. So these two are really useful as an internal control, even for a small company that can have that type of internal control. And then these items, again, will be set up once we set up the checking account. So we got open create checks and the open and pay liabilities, which of course will be the default. We want to make sure that we got the correct checking account. When we only have one checking account, that will be the one we will use. And then we have the bank feeds here. So if we want to set up the bank feeds, and this will allow us to get automatic downloads from the bank, so we can have the transactions be downloaded. We still got to put them into the system and apply them, but that will be the automatic connection here. We're going to keep the default settings in terms of the express mode, create rules automatically, and always ask before creating a rule. For more accounting information and accounting courses, visit our website at accountinginstruction.info.